يا رحمن ساعدني يا رحمن اشرح صدري قرآن املأ قلبي قرآن واسقي.
When I went to Bauchi, I met the lecturer King Bauchi, Dr. Mahmoud, who being a consultant surgeon. I told him this was what situation I faced and this was what I did. So he laughed. He said, well, that was innovative, but that was not necessary. If I had done end-to-end anastomosis, it would still have been okay. So there are cases like that over the years that one had been practicing, he had pleasant, experiences. Not to say that we also had challenges, of course, something beyond you. And the general disposition also, our relationship between us as clinicians and patients. In Bajoga, there was a time I stopped going to the market because when you go to the market, before you realize that somebody will be following you with a pack of dry fish, some will be some vegetables, giving you, If you refuse, they say, is it because it is not much? You on your part, you don't want to deplete his capital. But it was appreciation, of what you have forgotten that you have even treated his relation, sometime in the past. And you don't want to, burden him, from collecting the gift he will give you. We also had goodwill from people, well-to-do people, by donating whatever you needed. For Bajoga, we had massive support from the management of Ashaka Cement Factory, donating diesel to our power. Incidentally, when I was in Bajoga, there was no NEPA there. So we relied on generator 100%. Whether the borehole, whether theater or the cleaning material, whatever you want to do with power, you have to start the generator. But we also had the support of the then Duku local government, because that time there was no full Akai yet. It was Duku local government, Bajoga was there. So every month they would give us like 5 drums of diesel. We send our pickup to go and pick it. And Ashaka was giving us, of course, the board from Bauchi was giving us running cost. Our running cost then was 800 naira per month to buy diesel for 1 month, to buy consumables, to buy paper, whatever we required, fuel for our vehicle, ambulance, pickup, whatever we required was done within that 800 naira. Yeah, because a drum of diesel was 65 to 70 naira a drum. So you could see 800 naira was some money, So, but like I said, we had the goodwill of the people. They supported the hospital and the community you are based in. Even in Gombe, we had a patient welfare committee. The late Alhaji Ahmadu Haruna was a pillar of that committee. The late Alhaji Arabi, they donated their time and resources. I remember in General Hospital Gombe then, we didn't have a borehole. So we relied on water board to supply water. Sometimes the pipeline will provide water some days and it will be some hours. Haruna, when I call him, after greeting, any problem, since it's water we lack, we have a list to operate in the theater and we don't have water. You sound alarm, no water. So wherever his tanker is destined to go, it will be diverted. It shouldn't go to that place, it should first take water to the hospital. Among other things, you cannot list the support we received, from the committee under his chairmanship. Later, it was one of his close relatives and boys, if I would say, Alhaji Ibrahim, A.A. Haruna. I understand he's still doing that A.A. Haruna was doing, he's still doing it in the specialist hospital. We also had, like I said, a fair share of conflicts we tried to resolve. One thing that we worked before was working as a team. Both our training in school, our training as house officers and medical officers under our seniors, we learned to work as a team because the hospital is not the purview of any single profession. It simply cannot work. The example I used to give was that of the theater attendant. Because if you say operation, you talk of the surgeon, the anesthetist, the scrub nurse. I used to say, okay, if the attendant doesn't clean the drapes and towels that you used, will you be able to do the next case? The answer is no. So it's not the issue of who is important. And we have had a lot of problems when, particularly in Gombe, we had a team that was difficult to manage. You will have a case, an emergency, then one member of the team will say, we will not do it. Why? If it's from anesthesia, they must donate 2 pints of blood. Meanwhile, you don't have compatible blood. The relations have made effort, they are unable to do it. If it's APH or ectopic pregnancy, for example, the earlier you go in with what you have, the more likely you are to at least arrest further bleeding. So I used to say, look, let us take this patient, if it's the woman, a woman in labor, a woman with ectopic, if she were my wife, my sister, my mother, my daughter, how would I want it done? And this is a general rule, if I will call it that, for managing patients. That patient in front of you or on the couch, put yourself into his position. How would you wish it done to you if it were you? Okay, so do it that way to him. And I also say, the way things work in life is the way you do it is the way it will be done unto you. I have 2 examples that I have seen. One, when I was in NIPS in Kuru, I came for a short break. At that time, the first major renovation of the specialist hospital was being undertaken. They had moved the A&E to where now I think the record, part of it. I met the casualty nurse, the OC compound, begging a corporate doctor to please see a road traffic accident victim on the floor, bleeding, begging. I was shocked. So I asked the doctor, "Are you the doctor?" He said, "Yes." I said, "No, you can't be the doctor. If you are the doctor, why is this lady begging you to do your work?" He said, "Well, he will not see him because he doesn't know who will buy the drugs when he prescribes." I said, "Oh yeah, your job is to see." I said, "Okay, supposing I want to buy the drugs. If you don't prescribe, what will I buy? You see, your duty is to prescribe. See him and prescribe and leave it." And I told him, "You see, this lady who is now begging you may even find a way of getting the drugs. She can beg somebody to buy. She can even go to the pharmacy and whether buy it or borrow it or something. But you need to do your bit first." I asked him, "Where are you from?" He mentioned a state from the east. I said, "Do you plan to travel for this coming Christmas?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, let me tell you how life works, how in reality, how the world works. I don't wish this happens to you, but it may as well happen. Supposing you are traveling in the night bus and somewhere near Makodi, that bus has an accident and you are a victim, your copper ID card may be lost there. You may have money on you, it may be lost or stolen, and you will be taken to the floor of a hospital in Makodi. If the doctor on duty, like you are now, says he will not see you because who will buy the drug, how will you feel? You know, because I was happy and nobody knew me there. He didn't know I was a doctor or even a PAMSEC of the Ministry of Health. He didn't know. So I said, "So my friend, the way you do to patients will be the way it will be done to you, and I assure you one day you will be a patient. Because if you are alive, two things are inevitable: sickness and death. You cannot run away from them. So please see this patient and every other patient that needs you, needs to be seen by you. See him. Do your duty and let somebody else do his own duty." You know. So the other thing I always also say is myself, me as a patient. I went on official duty to Abuja. I was coming. I prayed Asr in that mosque. The mosque in the filling station. When you come from the side of the House of Assembly, if you are to go straight to that mosque, we prayed. I called my wife that we are now leaving Bauchi on our way home. The next thing I remembered was the voice of Dr. Dagauda, one of our teachers, I had said before. When I was recovering from coma in ICU in Bauchi. So I was there for 48 hours or 48 hours. I was moved with multiple fractures, you know, in 4 different locations in my body. I was told I had vomited blood. They had to transfuse me about 3 pints of blood. Later, when I was, by the grace of Allah, managed, even if it was outside. When I came back, I went to the Bauchi Teaching Hospital now and got somebody that we worked together when we were together in Bauchi, a clinical instructor in the School of Nursing in Bauchi, one Mandavs. I met him, I said, Mandavs, I learned I was in the ICU here during my accident. I want you to take me to the ICU so that let me see it. I didn't even know where it was located. So he gathered the staff there and asked them, pointing to me in crutches, do you know this man? And one of them looked at me and said, yes, he was our patient. He said, apart from that, what else? Then somebody said, I was told he is also a doctor. He said, yes, what else? Nobody knew something about me apart from that. He said, okay, he was a one-time sole administrator of this same hospital. So here was he, from a former sole administrator to an ICU patient. So I told them, you see, this is why it is said, you do to all patients your best. Your ethics, your conscience, morality dictates that you should do to patients what you would want done unto you if you were that patient. And they were looking at me again, that, is that so, blah, blah, blah. So that time, when they brought me in coma, it didn't matter I was a doctor, it didn't matter I was a previous one administrator, I was just a human being critically injured who required ICU care, which I got. So if you look at all levels, the issue of conflict, and if I make my personal observation about interprofessional conflict that appears to develop later. When we worked in 1988, when they launched the DRF, before 1988, in the then Bauchi State, people were not required to pay money in hospitals. It was in 1988 that DRF was introduced.
يا رحمن ساعدني يا رحمن اشرح صدري قرآن املأ قلبي قرآن